Hey guys, welcome back to the Musings of Maverick channel. This is your host Maverick, bringing to you episode 9 of Astra Lost in Space. So, this episode is a bit delayed. I mentioned last episode that due to an injury I had in my knee, I had to go get surgery, so I stayed in a hospital for a few days, but I am out now, right on schedule and ready for some more anime. And as you guys can see, I'm none the worse for wear. Movement is a little bit impaired, but otherwise okay to continue on with what I like to do. So, anyways, last episode in Astra Lost in Space, we rescued Polino, right? And then we discovered that, okay, things might not be as simple as they seem. I have the theory that there's maybe parallel worlds or something, and the Earth that Polina is from might not be the exact same place where the rest of the students are from. And then we also are left with a cliffhanger where Funi and Kitori seem to have identical DNAs. I'm thinking cloning is a possibility, or maybe parallel universes. In any case, things are heating up. Let's get into the episode and find out what's going on. Alrighty, beginning in 3, 2, 1, play. And we're actually like a third of the we got a third of the anime left before the ending. Okay. So now we're looking at what the maybe a little bit more backstory in regards to Kanata. Okay, so Kanata actually gets along with his dad pretty well. Okay, I guess we're skipping the opening. That means they got a lot to tell us. Right. Cloning or parallel universes. Those are the only explanations I can think. Even twins. I don't think twins have the exact same DNA. Well, actually, I don't know. I should probably just shut up on that part. My biology isn't that good. Oh. Wait, this is a... Okay. Although I had this theory, I didn't quite go this far. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, actually... Yeah, okay, okay. This is my theory from last episode. Right, just transfer memories over. Hmm. Okay, I didn't quite. My personal theory was not that they were gonna use it for, for immortality. I was thinking more like maybe these were their children, but maybe due to some kind of reason they needed to clone their children. Okay. This reminds me of what was that movie? There's this movie where people basically had clones of themselves in order to gather body parts or whatnot. I have to look it up when in a discussion session. You guys will probably know what I'm talking about if you like sci-fi movies. Spare organs. Hmm. Yeah, it does tie back to this in the end. Sweet. Yeah, I was thinking, going back. But I didn't think this far. I was thinking more like illegitimate children or whatnot. So, yeah, this makes total sense. Yeah, so that's artificial. Who's funding this? Hmm. Okay, so they literally just. Okay. So they purely wanted to dispose of them. So actually, I'm thinking whether or not maybe the traitor that they're thinking of might know of the entire situation, and so was deliberately providing, the spaceship, deliberately sabotaging the comms, so they could have a bit more time to figure this out. Hmm. I mean, there. has to be like. Yeah, Iris seems to be a bit special in this. Single parent. I just thought that. Okay, okay. Yeah, the thing I found in common was that they have some parent issues, not necessarily single parent. Okay, so what are you guys gonna do now? Really? And you know, we as an audience know like this is exactly what happened. But I'm just thinking, you guys are jumping to conclusions very, very quickly. I mean, we know they're right, right? But I'm just saying. Okay. So who is the one who actually knows a bit more than everyone else? Or is that actually the case? And by the way, with even with all this said, there's still this thing with Polina and what exactly she represents in this entire story. Okay, so Kanata, as the captain, is going around making sure everybody is mentally okay.
なんか言い方が気持ち悪いんだよ。
みんなのフォローを頼むよ、キャプテン。
はいえ。こっちも頼むぜ。
He's doing the cooking.
手伝うか？
心配すんな。ショックなんて受けてね。俺を差別して育てた理由が分かってせいせいしてるくらいだ。
来るか。
とがりじゃねえよ。正直なところ、ほっとしてんだ。帰った後に、俺はルカの親父を追い詰めることに。それが多少なりとも気が引けてたんでな。これで迷いなく奴らを牢屋にぶち込める。
兄貴が亡く、母親とも縁が切れる。一人になるんだぜ。
らしくねえこと言うじゃねえか、大将。俺は一人じゃない。
Coming from Urga.
やめろ、うりうりすんじゃねえ。
Might not want to mock the guy with a knife in his hand.
泣いてたけどついてきたよ。お母さんが私に目立つなって言ってた意味、ようやく分かったわ。私が注目を浴びるような人間、乗り換わった時に都合が悪くなるから。
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
だだろ。オリジナルは逮捕されて、俺たちは新しい人生が始まる。
I'm really.
それなら嬉しいかも。
I mean, obviously, it's not going to be that easy, right? Like, for one thing, how did they even invent that weird portal dimensional transfer device or whatnot? Like, it seems to me that they have a lot bigger backing than just those parents.
あなたたちに何かあることがあった。全ては警察に調べてもらって判明することですけど、おそらくそういうことだろうと。大丈夫？アリエスちゃん。正直、私が一番ふわふわしてると思うんです。もし全てが真実だとしたら、お母さんとかクローンのこととか、まだいろいろよくわからないので。でも、私はお母さんの愛情が本物だということを知ってます。ほら、いいんです。
Yeah, so why were you put here then?
嘘をついてるかもしれませんけど、人の感情まで
Like, what exactly is your backstory?
私が誰かのクローンだとしても、お母さんはお母さんです。
Like, okay, we know that her original probably came from the kingdom, right? The nobility, Shara's friend. What's it called again? Sarah? Yeah, Sarah.
これでいいの？
Hmm.
広げてみな。
一人大丈夫？うん、大丈夫よ。こう見えてももう結構吹っ切れてるから。ずっとママの敷いたレールを進んできた。それがいいことだと思い込んでたけど、結局ママの気を引きたかっただけなのよね。全部嘘だと分かった今、なんだか解放されたような気分で、むしろ晴れやかな気さえするの。やった。
ずっと心配しとってんで。
ウニはさ、私よりしっかりしてるのよね。同じ人間なのに、私ばっかり泣いてバカみたい。
人格は遺伝だけで決まるものじゃない。行動遺伝学の研究では、
How you grew up?
環境の影響は半々だそう。
Environment.
別の場所で別の親に育てられたフには、すでに同じ人
Ah, look at that.
電子なんか関係ない。
So Zach can be
関わってどういう経験をするかで、私は決まるの。
empathetic when he wants to.
それで私は変わった。嬉しい。
一人。
何？
というわけで、
ほら、いろいろあって空気
Wait, are they announcing their marriage?
話すんのどうかと思ったんだけど、こんな時だからこそ。
Really?
紹介しよう。我が婚約者、一人。
Oh my god, Zach.
マジなのか？
I mean, okay, this is seriously out of nowhere, but I guess it's a nice change of pace.
そもそもこの結婚は昔から決まっていた。おいおい、どうしたどうした。
なんすか、やばいっすよこの人。
確認なんだけど、君たちすでにお付き合いされてたの？
キトリーさんの気持ちはもろバレでしたけど、ザクさんもキトリーさんのこと好きだったんすかってこと。ちょっとやめてよ。
Kitari's probably going to.
感情表現が全くわからないね。
私だってわかんないわよ。もう違いますよ。ザックさんごまかしてますけど、この旅を通して二人の距離が近づいていったんですよね。
ちょっとアリエス、ダメよ。
俺は昔からずっと一緒
Harry, stop!
だって可愛いだろ。ルカ、悪いがやっぱパーティー名変更だ。
マジっすか。
惑星イクリス無事出発おめでとう。ポリネー歓迎ザックとキトリー結婚おめでとう。
That is way too long.
いいご飯キャンプ日誌。どんなことが起きてもこのメンバー
Okay, this absolutely came out of nowhere. I would have never guessed this in a million years.
なんだこれ、警報か？いや違う。ついに捉えたんだ。アーク6号のパーツで壊れてた宇宙望遠鏡を直したんだ。
Okay.
1000光年先の惑星だって見える。つまり懐かしき我が故郷だ。マジっすか？すげえ遠い。
Is that actually Earth, though? Again, I'm.
青い海、白い雲、緑の大地。
もうすでに懐かしいな。かれこれ3ヶ月くらい。
Where's Polina? Come on, Polina.
一つ惑星を経由すればたどり着くんですね。ユーファ泣いてる。
ウニちゃんだって。
別におかしかねえよ。これを見て泣かない方が嘘だ。よーし行くぜ。最後の星。
どうしたの？みんなではしゃいで。
There we go. It's not Earth, is it? Oh, wait, it is. Earth? No, 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 it's.
じゃないのね。帰れるのね。
ポリーナさん。
何度も夢に出てきたわ。あの海、あの大陸。あら、なんかおかしい。
Ah, there we go. It's not Earth.
本当に地球？だってほらあれはアフリカ大陸。それにしては形が違いすぎるわ。
There we go.
この島は何？
どうしたんだポリネ。
違うわ。これは地球じゃない。別の惑星と間違えてるわ。もう一度よく確認して。
いやポリネ、地球ってなんだ？
何？ふざけるのはよして。地球よ。どうしてそんな顔するの？地球！私たちの母星よ。ちょっと、なんすかこれ。
ポリネ、変だぞ。
まだ記憶が混濁してるのでしょうか。ポリネ、大丈夫？
ねえ、私がおかしいの？お願い、冗談だと言って。
You gotta.
あの星は何？あれが地球でないなら、あなたたちはどこから来たっていうの？
俺たちの星？そんなの分かりきってるだろう。惑星。
Wait, the planet's called Astra? Okay. Okay, there we have it. The big revelation, right? And, okay, first things first, I gotta give myself a pat on the back, right? I think you guys can give me this one. I feel like, I pretty much was in the ballpark of my two big predictions here. One was that it has to be cloning of somehow, and second of all, it was definitely, Polina, Earth, and where the students, where Kanata, where Ares, the planet they come from, was not the same planet. I think this one, I pretty much got on the mark right. Now, however, I will admit I did not actually consider the possibility of using cloning as just a direct harvesting of their own organs or trying to transplant their own memories into this new body, right? In retrospect, I probably should have considered this possibility. Again, there's this movie that came out like 15 years ago called The Island. It's a Michael Bay directed film. It's not exactly critically acclaimed, but the basic premise of it was pretty much the same. Oh, actually, I just gave out a spoiler, right? Well, look, the movie was 15 years ago, okay? So if you haven't seen it, well, tough luck. Anyways, so in the movie, it was the basic premise was the same. You basically bought these spare bodies or clones as your insurance, and when you except in that case, it wasn't directly a memory transplant and whatnot. It was more for organ harvesting, similar to how Funi is being viewed as sort of like a backup, like spare parts. Yeah, so that part, and then also relating back with the Genome Control Act. So in the end, it was they were afraid of doing DNA testing, although for reasons I had thought it was because maybe finding out that they were not actually related with each other, and in fact it turns out it's the exact complete opposite, and it's that they are too related with each other to the point of being 100% identical, right? So yeah, this entire thing kind of makes sense. Again, I feel like the actual protagonists here, the students, they're sort of diving headfirst into this a little bit too enthusiastically, right? Without really ample enough evidence. It's who's to say that this is not just a theory, right? Of course, we as observers know, because we can also see the side of the quote unquote parents, or I guess I should call them originals, but they are sure, very confident in their guess to this sort of situation. Yeah, in any case, they were right, and so everything falls into place. Now, however, even with all that being said, I feel like there's a few different things that still needs to be explained, right? So, first of all, in regards to all the originals, like, what exactly is their special relationship with each other, right? Doing something of this scale, like, why specifically those people? Right? Like, you got an athlete, okay, you got a singer, you got a noble, fine, but that seems like a very ragtag group of people, right? It's not, even if you say the rich and wealthy and famous, well, why is it limited to only those, right? So I feel like either this whole thing is bigger than we are now currently seeing, or there has to be like something else going on behind the scenes in terms of the originals. Otherwise, I just find it very hard to believe that these people who, they're definitely not friends with each other, right? And they're coming from all these different walks of life. How exactly, like, who gathered them together and say, hey, psst, I got an insurance policy for you. How do you want to live do you want to live forever? Do you want to learn the secret of immortality, right? Like, how are they choosing these people? You get what I mean? So there's this entire part that I feel like they still need to explain on, and potentially this is also going to be a big plot point as well, at least when I'm thinking about this. And the second thing is in regards to that warp portal, the device, ball, space, sphere, whatever the heck that thing is, right? So again, these are just, okay, so you got a politician within them, but he's not even exactly, like, he's not the president or the emperor or something, right? How exactly can he exert that much power? And the rest are, they're rich and famous, but like not like literally top percent rich and famous, right? Like, how did they get their hands on this kind of technology and whatnot? So there has to be a bigger sponsor or a bigger organization behind them that's doing this kind of stuff. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense either on an individual scale or on a, on either a micro or macro scale. the micro being, how they know of each other, how they actually recruited each other to become part of this plan. And on a macro scale, like, this is involving way even more resources than should be possible for just these people, right? Like, I could get it. There's a guy that's specializing in memory research. There's doctors and whatnot. Okay, fine, I can get that. But it seems that this entire thing is more than just this, is what I'm saying. So I feel like this is definitely not the entire story yet. I think there's a bigger presence behind this whole thing. The third thing that I still feel like we need to sort of explain or extrapolate on is in regards to Aries, right? So she is definitely the outlier in this group. I guess I was kind of spoiled by another comment saying that, she is her actual, I wouldn't say identity, but her relationship with her parents, right? So I guess I'm kind of been spoiled by that part, although apparently this was already mentioned in the manga at this point, but not mentioned right now. So just in case anybody did not read the comments and did not read the manga yet, I'm going to refrain from that part. But again, Aries, her situation is very different. And also, if we go back to the entire story that Charles told, that, in regards to the Sarah character, right? Which, again, I'm assuming is basically Aries. So things just don't quite add up, right? And you add into the fact that there's still, somebody still was responsible for destroying the comms console very early on, right? That's why they assumed that there was a traitor within this group and whatnot. And then you also consider the fact that okay, so up to now we know that because there's this other gathering, right? We can already eliminate the possibilities of who is actually, really just a victim here. So actually all things are pointing back to Charles, I feel. His story about Ceres and whatnot, like, I'm not sure if I completely buy that to be true. I actually think Aries is potentially, maybe, her background is a bit more than just what is shown here. Like, I don't know, like, I had always had this thought in my mind that potentially she could be like princess or royalty, or she has some kind of specific lineage in her blood, right? And Char is, he could be a prince, or he could be a bodyguard or something, or he could be a close confidential of the royal family or whatnot, and is out looking for Ares. Some things sort of like that. Again, I don't really have anything to base this on, except for the fact that, there's still somebody who I think knows about this entire situation, like this entire plot, or this entire plan in more detail than the others. Like, maybe that person already knew of this, and so I don't think it's necessarily being a traitor, but maybe just trying to delay the eventual meetup until they could get things sorted out, right? So my money is actually on Charis at this point, because he's the one related with Ares, who currently we have the biggest question mark on, and also we can see that out of the people who were plotting and scheming in the cafe in this episode, the originals, it had a distinct lack of Charis's father, right? So we can't really know if that is the case there or not. So potentially that is also something that we should keep in mind. I still feel like Aris's background, her entire backstory, might be another significant key to this entire story. So yeah, and what else? Okay, so that's the entire, cloning and whatnot part, and then let's talk a little bit about Polina, right? So again, I thought it was fairly, maybe you could say they were being fairly obvious with this, right? With her saying Earth, but then the students never explicitly mentioning Earth, and then when in all the star charts and whatnot, even though all the other planets have names, their home planet specifically did not have a name. It wasn't revealed until this episode. So again, you can kind of see, based on these kinds of hints, that probably they're not talking about the same planet. Now, the problem here is, however, why exactly this is the case, right? Based on their reactions, the students' reactions, they have never heard of Earth as well. And, based on the cryosleep, logs, Polina was only asleep for 12 years. So what exactly is responsible for this gap between knowledge, right? So there are a few theories here. Now, my original theory was that that warp thingy, that sphere ball thingy, was actually sucking them to another a parallel universe of some sort, where so planet Astra, as they call it, would be the same as planet Earth, except they're in different universes. Now, or potentially they could have been sucked to, I don't know, a different galaxy, right? A different galaxy or something, and it had the same kind of characteristics as Earth. But the theory here falls apart a little bit because they're using the telescope now to look at the planet here, and the planet is their planet. It's planet Astra, right? Not planet Earth. And if my theory was to be correct, then they would be seeing planet Earth instead of planet Astra. So apparently that is not the case. So it might be reversed, and it's actually Polina that actually got sucked into some sort of alternate dimension or whatnot. So, well, okay. So here's the thing, right? There's still a few theories that we can go with where this kind of situation could happen. One is, so again, maybe potentially these both exist in the same universe. They're just very, very, very far apart, right? We're never explicitly told how long Polina traveled for. Polina and her her friends, the crew of the other Ark class ship, traveled for. Potentially they could have been traveling for many years, right? Although honestly, it would probably have to be a fairly large amount of number. Otherwise, I feel like they could have been into contact long ago, right? So, yeah. Actually, on second thought, no. There's only these possibilities. So either they go through some sort of wormhole or whatnot into an alternate reality, or to some place that's like not even thousands of light years, but like millions, billions of light years away from each other. Either that kind of possibility, or there's a possibility also that her cryosleep chamber was actually not saying that she was asleep for 12 years, but even more than that, right? Maybe 112 years, or maybe even something even more ridiculous than that. Now, that theory I still have my doubts about, because if they were actually the same people, they still originate on Earth, I find it hard to believe that they would erase all memory of Earth from their records, from their history. They would not learn of it in school or whatnot. I find that highly impossible and improbable. So really, I think the more logical explanation is that they're either separated very, very, very far apart, and through some use of wormholes or whatnot, they were able to get into close proximity with each other, or, as I said before, it's alternate universes. I feel like these are the only two explanations that would make sense in this context. Okay, so yeah, that basically covers everything, all the theories and all the things that we know so far, as well as some more unknowns that we are probably going to have to resolve before the end here. And I guess maybe just a quick comment on the the actual episode. Like, now I'll admit, the mirrors caught me completely off guard. Like, I was not expecting this at all. I guess the author just wanted to throw in something in there to sort of change up the pace a bit, turn it from something very solemn to very silly and whatnot, before turning it solemn and serious again with Polina's review. So I like that, right? Serious, casual, serious. It keeps your mood going up and down, right? So it keeps you on your toes, and you don't really know what's coming next. So I did like that part. So yeah, that pretty much covers all the theories I have for Astra Lost in Space. Yeah, I think that about covers it. And again, I'm sure that some people of you here read the manga. Maybe don't spoil it for others, or if you do want to discuss or type out some certain things that you feel is a spoiler, just make sure that you put a spoiler alert or something, and then space it out a bit before you actually give your comment. That would be much appreciated both for me and for others as well. So there we go. Quite an interesting episode, quite the interesting development. Not exactly the most original, as I've said before, but still, I feel like it's rare enough in media works that it's still a pleasure to get a work based on this kind of concept. I like it. Although definitely I feel like this series is concentrating a little bit more on the mystery solving aspect than any actual adventure in space. But oh well, as long as it's entertaining. So there we go. That was episode 9 of Astra Lost in Space, and I will see you guys next week, next time. Till then, bye bye.